First Contact Protocol. The massive command center of the Zephyrian flagship, Eternal Dominion, hummed with the subtle vibration of its quantum engines. Admiral Varix Crix stood with his forearms clasped behind his back, his scaled skin reflecting the blue glow of holographic star charts. For centuries, the Zephyrian Empire had been the unquestioned authority in this sector of the galaxy. Hundreds of species paid tribute. Thousands of worlds existed under their protection and rule. Admiral, called Lieutenant Thessia from her monitoring station. Sensors are picking up an unidentified vessel at the edge of the Caldera system. Crix barely glanced in her direction. Unidentified vessels were commonplace, usually smugglers or pirates foolish enough to test Zephyrian borders. Classification? He asked, his voice resonating through the chamber. Unknown, sir. The configuration doesn't match anything in our database. Thessia's voice carried a hint of concern now. It's approaching the outer defense perimeter. That caught Crix's attention. He moved swiftly to the central display. Show me. The holographic projection shifted, revealing a sleek vessel unlike any he had seen before. It was smaller than Zephyrian warships, but possessed an elegant predatory design. Its hull was dark, absorbing rather than reflecting light, making it difficult to discern its complete outline. Origin, Crix demanded. Based on trajectory analysis, it appears to be from the Sol system, Admiral. Crix felt a ripple of amusement pass through him. Humans? Impossible. The Zephyrian Empire had catalogued Earth decades ago, a borderline pre-FTL civilization struggling with internal conflicts and environmental devastation. They had been classified as a Tier 4 species, technologically adolescent, politically fragmented, and at least a century away from becoming spacefaring on any meaningful scale. Send a warning pulse, Crix ordered. Standard protocol for trespassing vessels. The tactical officer nodded, activating the Empire's standard deterrent, an electromagnetic burst designed to disable primitive navigation systems and encourage retreat. Nothing happened. The vessel continued its approach, unaffected. Warning pulse ineffective, sir, reported the tactical officer, confusion evident in her voice. Admiral Crix narrowed his secondary eyes. Deploy Intercept Squadron Theta 9. I want that ship identified, and its crew detained for questioning. 6 Zephyrian fighters launched from the Eternal Dominion, their crystalline propulsion systems leaving trails of ionized particles as they accelerated toward the intruder. They formed a perfect hexagonal pattern, a standard intimidation formation. Human vessel is being hailed by squadron leader, Thessia announced. They're responding. Put it through, Crix ordered. The command center's communication display activated, revealing a human face. Female, middle-aged by their standards, with dark hair pulled back tightly and eyes that reflected an unsettling calmness. This is Captain Sarah Chen of the Earth vessel Horizon, she stated, her voice clear and confident. We acknowledge your presence, Zephyrian fighters, but we will not alter our course. We're here on a diplomatic mission. Admiral Crix stepped forward. This is Admiral Varix Crix of the Zephyrian Imperial Fleet. Your presence in our territory is unauthorized. Your ship will power down systems and prepare to be boarded or face immediate consequences. The human captain smiled slightly. Admiral, with all due respect, I don't think you understand the situation. We're not here to challenge your authority, but to establish formal contact. Earth has changed since your last assessment. You have 1 planetary cycle to comply. Crix responded, unmoved. Zephyrian law applies to all beings in our space. Captain Chen's expression didn't change. Admiral, I would strongly advise against hostile action. We've studied your tactical protocols extensively. Let's avoid unnecessary conflict. Crix felt a flicker of unease. How could humans have studied Zephyrian protocols? Their databanks should be inaccessible to such a primitive species. Squadron leader, he commanded, disable their propulsion systems. The 6 fighters moved into attack position, energy weapons charging. What happened next would be discussed in Zephyrian military academies for generations. The human vessel, previously appearing unarmed, suddenly deployed what looked like simple metal plates from its hull. The Zephyrian energy weapons fired, and their beams reflected back, striking two of the fighters and crippling them instantly. Before the remaining fighters could adjust, small projectiles launched from the human ship. Not energy weapons or conventional missiles, but what appeared to be autonomous drones that attached themselves to the fighters' hulls. Within seconds, the Zephyrian vessels lost power. "What just happened?" Crix demanded, his voice raised in genuine shock. "Sir," Theshu reported, voice trembling, "all 4 remaining fighters have been disabled. The drones appear to have introduced some kind of localized EMP effect that bypassed our shielding." On the communication display, Captain Chen remained composed. "Admiral Crix, I'll repeat, we're here on a diplomatic mission. However, we came prepared for various scenarios. Your fighters' crews are unharmed. We've simply disabled their systems temporarily." Crix's mind raced. The Empire's intelligence on human capabilities was clearly outdated. Drastically outdated. "How did you achieve faster-than-light travel?" he asked, genuine curiosity mixing with strategic assessment. "Our records indicated you were decades away from such technology." "Necessity accelerates innovation, Admiral," Chen replied. "When Earth united under the Global Defense Initiative 20 years ago, our technological development increased exponentially. Your Empire's occasional probes into our system didn't go unnoticed, either. This was impossible. A species couldn't advance that quickly unless you had help," Crix concluded. "Which of our rivals provided you with technology?" Chen shook her head. "No outside assistance, Admiral. Just human ingenuity and determination. We observed, we learned, and we adapted. That's what humans do best." Before Crix could respond, another officer approached urgently. "Admiral, we're detecting multiple energy signatures entering the system. Preliminary analysis suggests more human vessels." The holographic display updated, showing a formation of 7 additional ships entering the system. Unlike the diplomatic vessel Horizon, these had a distinctly military configuration. "This is our security detail," Captain Chen explained. "Standard protocol for first contact situations." "First contact." Crix nearly laughed. "Your world has been in our database for decades. Observation is not contact, Admiral," Chen replied. "And until now, we chose not to reveal our true capabilities." Crix gestured for the communication to be muted temporarily. "Analysis of their vessels," he demanded. The tactical officer worked quickly. "Sir, based on energy signatures, they appear to possess directed energy weapons, but with unusual configurations. Their hulls contain materials we can't identify, and their propulsion system, it's not using conventional space-time manipulation. It's something different." Crix unmuted the communication. "Captain Chen, I'm afraid I must insist on your withdrawal from Zephyrian space. Your presence here, especially with military vessels, constitutes an act of aggression." "We view it as self-protection, Admiral," Chen responded. "The Zephyrian Empire's history of incorporating new species into your hierarchy is well documented. We're simply ensuring our diplomatic mission proceeds on equal footing." Crix felt his patience evaporating. Humans, a species barely capable of reaching their own moon when last checked, were now dictating terms in his territory. "Perhaps you misunderstand the balance of power here," he said coldly. "The Eternal Dominion alone carries enough firepower to reduce your entire fleet to cosmic dust." Captain Chen nodded slowly. "That's probably true, Admiral. But I wonder, have you considered why a supposedly inferior species would deliberately place themselves in such a position? Do you think we came unprepared?" The tactical officer interrupted again. "Sir, we're detecting unusual energy readings from the human vessels. They appear to be activating some kind of defensive system." On the display, the human ships began to emit a faint blue glow, forming what appeared to be an interconnected energy field between them. "A final warning, Admiral," Chen said, her voice now carrying an edge of steel beneath its diplomatic veneer. The Zephyrian Empire will recognize Earth as a sovereign entity with protected status, or we will be forced to demonstrate capabilities we would prefer to keep confidential. Crix felt rage building within him. In 3 centuries of service, no species had ever spoken to him with such audacity. "You have 1 hour to leave this system," he declared. "After that, we will open fire with full force. The Empire does not negotiate with trespassers." Captain Chen sighed. "I had hoped for a more productive first meeting." "Very well. We'll withdraw to the system boundary and await your final decision." "But Admiral," her eyes met his directly through the screen. "Don't mistake diplomatic restraint for weakness. Humanity has survived far worse threats than the Zephyrian Empire." The communication ended, and Crix watched as the human vessels began a coordinated retreat toward the edge of the system, moving with a precision that betrayed extensive training. "Sir," Thessia said quietly, "should we pursue?" Admiral Crix considered his options carefully. Something wasn't right. The humans were too confident, too prepared. If they truly possessed technology capable of advancing from pre-FTL to their current state in just 2 decades, what else might they be hiding? "No," he decided finally. "Alert the Imperial fleet. I want every available warship in this sector mobilized immediately, and send a priority message to High Command. We may have encountered something unprecedented." As the massive engines of the Eternal Dominion powered up, Admiral Crix couldn't shake a growing sensation he hadn't felt in centuries: uncertainty. The galaxy had just become a much more complicated place, and somewhere at the edge of the system, Captain Sarah Chen of Earth watched the Zephyrian flagships approach, knowing that humanity's carefully orchestrated entrance onto the galactic stage had just begun. First Contact Protocol was proceeding exactly as planned. The human equation. Admiral Crix paced the command deck of the Eternal Dominion, his normally composed demeanor fracturing under mounting pressure. The tactical display showed the current situation in stark detail. 8 human vessels positioned at the edge of the Caldera system, maintaining formation just outside weapons range of his growing fleet. "Status of reinforcements," he demanded. "Battle Group Helix has arrived, Admiral," reported Commander Nexus, his secondary eyes blinking rapidly in the Empire's gesture of concern. "That brings our total to 27 warships, with 3 more groups expected within 6 hours." Crix nodded curtly. The humans would soon face overwhelming force, a clear demonstration of why the Zephyrian Empire had remained unchallenged for millennia. "Sir," interrupted Lieutenant Thessia, "the human diplomatic vessel is requesting communication again." "Put it through," Crix ordered, composing himself. Captain Chen's face appeared on the display. If she was intimidated by the Armada assembling against her small fleet, she showed no sign of it. "Admiral Crix, I see you've called for reinforcements," she observed calmly. "I had hoped our previous exchange would have encouraged dialogue rather than escalation. You entered sovereign Zephyrian space with armed vessels." Crix responded coldly. "The Empire's response is proportional and justified." Chen's expression remained neutral. "Then perhaps we should address the foundational misunderstanding. The region we currently occupy isn't exclusively Zephyrian territory, according to the Galactic Concordat of Shared Spaces, a document your own empire helped draft 3 centuries ago." Crix felt a chill run through him. How could humans possibly know about the Concordat? It was an ancient treaty, technically still valid but practically ignored by the Empire for generations as they expanded their borders. "The Concordat applies only to recognize spacefaring civilizations," he countered. "Earth has no standing in interstellar law." That was true, Chen acknowledged, until the Proxima Council granted us provisional membership last year. Crix's upper arms tightened involuntarily. The Proxima Council, a loose alliance of non-aligned worlds on the galaxy's outer rim, was a minor political entity, but technically recognized even by the Empire. "A technicality that changes nothing," Crix declared. Your presence here remains a provocation. Admiral, Chen said, leaning forward slightly. Let me be direct. We understand the Zephyrian Empire's protocols. We know you've classified Earth as a potential resource world. We've intercepted your survey drones. We've decoded your species classification system. We're aware that in approximately 15 years, your empire planned to begin integration of Earth into your hierarchy. Silence fell across the command deck. The human captain had just revealed classified information that even many of Crix's own officers weren't privy to. How did you access Imperial records? Crix demanded, abandoning pretense. Chen's smile was cold. Admiral, did you really believe we wouldn't notice your surveillance? That we wouldn't capture and reverse engineer your technology? Humanity has faced extinction-level threats throughout our history. We're particularly good at identifying potential dangers. Before Crix could respond, Commander Nexus approached urgently. Admiral, we're detecting unusual energy readings from the human vessels. They appear to be replicating. Crix turned to the tactical display. Where there had been 8 human ships, now there appeared to be 16. Then 32. Then 64. Holographic projections. Crix concluded immediately. A primitive attempt at deception. No, sir. The tactical officer contradicted nervously. Our sensors detect mass and energy signatures from all vessels. They appear to be solid. Impossible. Crix hissed. No species possesses matter replication technology at that scale. On the communication display, Captain Chen watched his reaction with interest. Not replication, Admiral, just efficient deployment. Each of our ships carries compact autonomous combat units, what you might call drone fighters. We've simply activated them. As if to demonstrate, one of the newly appeared smaller vessels accelerated suddenly, performing maneuvers that would crush any biological pilot. It spiraled between 2 Zephyrian cruisers at incredible speed, then rejoined the human formation. No Zephyrian pilot could survive those G-forces, muttered Commander Nexus. Because they're designed for efficiency, not comfort, Chen explained, having apparently heard the comment. Humans have always excelled at creating tools that extend our reach beyond our biological limitations. Crix's strategic mind raced through the implications. If these were remotely operated or autonomous vessels, traditional intimidation tactics would be useless. There were no crews to threaten, no fear to exploit. You position yourself as diplomats, Crix said accusingly, yet you deploy weapons of war. Your actions contradict your words, Captain. We came prepared for any scenario, Chen replied evenly. History has taught us that new species are most respected when they demonstrate capability alongside cooperation. Now, shall we discuss terms for peaceful relations, or would you prefer a practical demonstration of human ingenuity under pressure? The underlying threat was unmistakable. Crix studied the tactical display again. The human vessels had begun a complex reorganization, forming what appeared to be a defensive sphere around their diplomatic ship. The formation was unlike any Zephyrian battle doctrine, fluid, adaptive, seemingly random yet clearly coordinated. Admiral, said the tactical officer urgently, the human vessels are emitting some kind of interference field. Our targeting systems are losing precision. This was rapidly evolving beyond a standard first contact scenario. Crix made his decision. All vessels, prepare to fire warning salvos. Target empty space 5 kilometers ahead of the human formation. Let them see what real firepower looks like. The massive Zephyrian fleet responded immediately. Energy weapons charge, the distinctive purple glow of particle accelerators illuminating the void of space. With perfect synchronization, 27 warships fired simultaneously. The energy beams cut through space and vanished. What happened? Crix demanded. Unknown, sir, the tactical officer responded, voice trembling. The energy signatures simply disappeared approximately 2 kilometers from the human fleet. On the communication display, Captain Chen's expression remained unchanged. Admiral, I believe your weapons just encountered what we call a Hawking field, essentially a localized space-time distortion that redirects energy. We developed it originally to protect Earth from solar flares, but it has other applications. Impossible, Crix whispered, but with less conviction than before. The evidence was before his eyes. Sir, interrupted Commander Nexus, the automated defense station at Caldera Prime is reporting unusual activity. The humans appear to have sent a small contingent toward the planet while we were focused on their main fleet. Crix felt cold anger rising within him. You distracted us deliberately, he accused Chen. I would call it creating multiple diplomatic channels, she replied. The team approaching your defense station carries our formal proposal for peaceful relations between Earth and the Zephyrian Empire. We thought it might be received more openly away from this tension. Activate the defense station's automated protocols, Crix ordered immediately. No human vessel approaches any Imperial world without explicit permission. The massive orbital defense station that protected Caldera Prime, a jewel in the Imperial crown, began powering its weapon systems. The approaching human vessels would be vaporized within moments. But something unexpected happened. Sir, reported the communications officer, the defense station isn't responding to commands. It's powering down. Impossible, Crix roared. Those systems have redundancies upon redundancies. Yes, they do, agreed Captain Chen. 17 separate security protocols, to be precise. However, they all rely on the same core operating principles that your empire has used for the past 3 centuries. Principles we've had ample time to study and understand. The implications hit Crix like a physical blow. If humans could neutralize a Zephyrian defense station remotely, what other systems might they be able to access? What do you want? He asked finally, the question emerging as much from strategic necessity as genuine curiosity. Chen's expression softened slightly. What every emerging species wants, Admiral. Recognition. Security. The opportunity to join galactic civilization without becoming subservient to it. Earth has no desire to challenge the Zephyrian Empire's existing territory. We simply refuse to become another conquered world in your collection. For the first time, Crix truly looked at the human captain, not as an inferior being or a sudden problem, but as a representative of a species that had somehow managed to leap centuries of technological development in mere decades, a species that had prepared meticulously for this moment. The Empire does not negotiate under threat, he said, but the words lacked their earlier conviction. Neither does humanity, Chen responded, which is why we're offering a third option. The diplomatic package being delivered to Caldera Prime contains our proposal for a mutual non-aggression pact, technological exchange protocols limited to non-military applications, and recognition of spatial boundaries. Crix considered his options carefully. The Empire had never faced such a situation, a supposedly inferior species revealing itself to be not only technologically advanced, but strategically brilliant. The humans had neutralized every advantage he possessed without firing a single actual weapon. How did your species advance so rapidly? He asked, genuine curiosity breaking through his diplomatic facade. Chen's expression shifted, revealing something almost like pride. We nearly destroyed ourselves. Admiral, 20 years ago, Earth stood on the brink of a war that would have rendered our planet uninhabitable. In that moment of crisis, we finally understood what truly mattered. Survival. Not just as individuals or nations, but as a species. She paused, her eyes distant for a moment. When we intercepted your first surveillance drone, we realized we weren't alone in the universe. That knowledge united us in a way nothing else could. Every resource previously devoted to fighting each other was redirected toward understanding the stars, and those who might come from them. You prepared for war, Crix observed. We prepared for continuation, Chen corrected. Humanity has always excelled at adaptation. We studied every piece of alien technology we could salvage. We built our strategies around surviving first contact with a potentially hostile civilization. We hoped for peace but planned for conflict. That's the human way. For the first time in centuries, Admiral Varix Crix felt something he had forgotten existed: respect for an opponent. These humans had outmaneuvered him not through superior firepower, but through intelligence, preparation, and an apparent willingness to take enormous risks. "I will review your diplomatic proposal," he said finally, "and forward it to Imperial High Command with my recommendations." Chen nodded. "Thank you, Admiral. Our vessels will maintain position here while discussions proceed. As a gesture of good faith, we've restored control of your defense station. Your fighters that we disabled earlier have also been released and are returning to your fleet." The communication ended, leaving Crix staring at the tactical display. The human drone fleet had reconfigured again, now forming a neutral pattern that could shift to either defensive or offensive positions as needed. "Your orders, Admiral?" asked Commander Nexus hesitantly. Crix considered the situation carefully. The Empire had existed for millennia by acknowledging realities and adapting accordingly. The humans had demonstrated capabilities that could not be easily countered, at least not without significant study. "Stand down from attack posture," he ordered finally. "Maintain defensive positions only, and prepare a secure communication channel to High Command. Priority Alpha." As his officers carried out his commands, Crix returned to the viewport, gazing out at the distant pinpoints of light that represented the human fleet. In all his years of service, he had never encountered a species that had prepared so thoroughly for its emergence onto the galactic stage. The Zephyrian Empire had just met its most unexpected challenge, not from ancient rivals or established powers, but from a species they had dismissed as primitive barely 2 decades ago. And somehow, Crix suspected this was only the beginning of humanity's impact on galactic affairs. In the vastness of space, the human ships waited patiently, their presence a silent testament to a truth the Empire was only beginning to understand. In the complex equation of galactic power, humanity was a variable no one had properly calculated.